Welcome everybody, my name's Zerback47. I stream World of Warships every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on Twitch. We're gonna go over the CV Patrol Fighter mechanics and how they now operate after these changes here have been implemented. So let's go ahead and take care of business here, chat. All right, let's get into a training room. Basically, what we're gonna showcase here, chat, is the UI, what everything looks like on screen. What are these symbols? What is the HUD? How do these patrol fighters work? Right now, we're just going to load into a training room here. Kilo's going to help me out. All right, so what we're going to do, chat, is when you load into a game, this is basically what you're going to look at here. They did change the way patrol fighters operate, and I'm going to do the best I can here today to explain these mechanics. And after we get past this little part of how this stuff all works, we're going to get into some gameplay and some compilation videos that we put together that showcase some of the things that I see CV players doing right and wrong, so we can just learn how to best employ patrol fighters in their current state as they sit. Right now, let's go ahead and launch some planes. We're going to fire up with the rocket planes. As you can see here, most of this looks basically the same. Nothing really changes here. However, when you go to put down a patrol fighter, you're going to hit your T key. It's not going to drop it down automatically. Oh my goodness, what is this? What are we looking at here? I got a green circle and another circle that's kind of inside of it here. Basically, let me steer my ship here so I can kind of get into a better area. That way we're not running off the map. We hit the T key, we're looking at this. This outside line here, you can see you got the inner green circle. As soon as I cross here, it turns yellow. Basically, you can drop fighters from any position on the map based on this large circle reticle. So if you can literally put down fighters anywhere you want inside of this circle. This is going back to basically some of the RTS kind of style gameplay. Let's say I want to put fighter over here. Let's go ahead and drop it. We're going to left click it. Now we just automatically goes back into our main gameplay stream. What happened here? Oh my goodness. Shut off your AA. Shut off your AA. What are we looking at here, chat? It just dropped down. We got the smoke signal. Now we got fighters that are kind of looking at the area. Did anybody catch that? Did anybody see what happened here? There's a little bit of a delay from when you put down fighters to the time in which they arrive on station. That's something that's gonna matter, right? That's something that we're all gonna have to remember when we're going ahead and using patrol fighters. Right now, we got the patrol fighters. They're currently in the area. If you look over here on the mini map, all right, we got our nice circle. It's well defined. These patrol fighters are patrolling that area where I just laid these down. Okay, the number that we're looking at here is the distance that I am from my fighters. And if you look at the bottom of the hood here, this is how long the fighters are gonna last for. Okay, roughly we got about 10 seconds left. That's what that is, and that's what we're looking at here. We're gonna ride out the 5 seconds. When that timer times out, bang, fighters, you can see them just return to the carrier, right? And all of a sudden, there you go, voila, the patrol fighters have gone away. Well, let's demonstrate that one more time here. We're flying along. We're gonna hit the T key. That'll bring up this menu. And again, we can drop it anywhere on the map. Something to point out here too, the closer you are to your squadron is to the patrol fighters, the will lessen the time it takes for your patrol fighters to arrive on station. If I drop these fighters, say, directly in front of my airplanes, it's only going to take a few seconds for them to arrive on station, where if I drop them way out here on the very outer edge, it's going to take 17 seconds, 16 seconds, 15, 14, before the fighters actually arrive on station. So this is what that means. That's what we're looking at here. And keep this in mind, because this is going to become very important as we go along here in the demonstration. Yep, and now they're on station. Did everybody see that? Everybody getting a pretty good understanding as to how this stuff works, right? Now they're going to remain on station. They're going to patrol inside this green circle for the duration of the fighter reaction time. Of right now, it's at 30 seconds. So that's basically how that works. Everybody get an understanding now how this works. Okay, let's get out of the training room. Kilo Mike Sierra was nice enough to provide me with this video. Thank you, Kilo, for kind of just getting in the training room so I could demonstrate what it is that we're looking at. Now that we all understand how this works, get over here to... All right, here we go, chat. So this is a really nice YouTube video that my good friend, dibmate, and moderator Kilo Mike Sierra put together, and I'll put a link to his YouTube channel down in the description below. But here's some of the mistakes I see a lot of CV players make with this newer mechanic. They completely change the way they interact compared to what we had before. So as you can see in this map, before I even hit the button that says play, there's an enemy Bayard on the other side. This is all ranked gameplay from my good friend Kilo Mike Sierra. He's right in this game fighting Bayard, and he already dropped down 2 fighters. Look at this, right? You got a fighter over here on A and a fighter on C. Patrol fighters can no longer spot ships. So basically, the mistake that this carrier played, this red Bayard player made, he put these in a position where it's doing nothing for the team. Once they time out on station and they return to the carrier, the Bayard's gonna have a 2-minute cooldown before he can employ fighters again. Let's go ahead, we'll get this video moving. You see the one disappear. Now eventually this one will disappear too as well. Look at where Kilo is. He can attack these ships in the center of the map for free because the enemy carrier put these fighters down in an area in which they're just completely ineffective. So that's something to take note of right there. Okay, this is the other thing that I want to showcase here too. This is another mistake that we see carrier players make. Because there's a time, right, an on-station time, right? Before the time you drop your fighters on the map, depending on how far your squadron is away from that point in which you drop, it's going to take your fighters a certain amount of time to arrive on station. The mistake that this carrier is going to make is he's going to drop patrol fighters here for this battleship, okay? The problem is he's not taking into account the forward momentum of the battleship, right? So by the time Kilo gets there, he's going to be able to just attack this ship on repeat. He's going to be able to attack, see, he just dropped it down on station here. He can continue to attack this battleship because the battleship's got so much forward momentum that he's just gonna skate the balloon, the patrol radius of the patrol fighters. Does that make sense? So Kilo can continue, even though the carrier dropped the fighter for this guy, patrol fighter, he dropped it too far back, didn't take account for the forward momentum of the chaos, and this poor battleship's gonna just eat a lot of damage here because Kilo can attack him repeatedly without having to risk his planes because he is already driven outside of the patrol radius. That happened because he put the fighters down. The carrier player did not take account for the forward momentum of the ship and the arrival time of the patrol fighters. Does that make sense? So Kilo's just continuously striking this guy over and over again. And he can get away with it because the patrol fighters aren't even on station. Look, he's got 5 seconds left, right? So that's something to take note of there. If you're playing CVs, you want to make sure that you can put fighters down far enough ahead of the ship that you're trying to protect because you got to compensate for the time that it takes your patrol fighters to get on station. So again, let's demonstrate this again. Watch the carrier. See, he's got 25 seconds, even though this is where the patrol radius is gonna fall. Kilo's got 17, 16, 15 seconds where he can attack this Perth unimpeded because the patrol fighters aren't on station yet. All right, let's go on to the next mistake that we see carrier players make with this newer mechanic. Is basically what's going to happen is the red carrier is going to kind of deploy fighters with the attempt to try to protect the Gneisenau. However, he's not paying attention to the positioning of all the other green ships that are on the map. So when this guy drops a patrol fighter, he's going to drop it inside of AA range of this battleship and the Shiratsu. These planes are all going to get shot down before they have a chance to protect the Gneisenau. Let's see what happens here. We'll actually watch that in action. See, Kilo can just continue to strike this guy over and over again. He put it down. 4 seconds on station. Yep, see, Ganaiza now goes down. And the, where was it? The P&H here. Yep, the P&H was able to just shoot down all the fighters before they could even be effective. So when you're dropping these fighters on the map, pay attention to how far they are away from what is potentially enemy ships, because they're just going to be able to shoot your planes down before they become effective. All right, let's go on to the next clip here. Yeah, watch what this Ark Royal does. Watch what Kilo does. See, Kilo's granted the Duke York's AFK, but it doesn't matter. Let's rewind that just a little bit here. Let's rewind that a little bit. We got a Duke York coming in. I'll see if I can time this correctly. The Duke York's right here. Bam! The enemy Ark Royal just laid down fighters directly above the Duke York as Kilo's already making his attack runs, right? Look at the on station time, the countdown. Right now it says 22 seconds. That's more than enough time for Kilo to get off all of his strikes before the fighters even arrive on station, right? So even though the carrier, the enemy Ark Royal, thinks he's doing the right thing by dropping these fighters directly over the top of a target that's getting farmed, because he dropped them so far away from his squadron, they're going to take 22 seconds for him to get on station. That's more than enough time for Kilo to get all his drops off. Even though the Duke York's AFK, that doesn't matter. Kilo has, even though the fighter bubbles in the area, it's gonna spawn right here. Kilo's got plenty of time to keep putting torps on this guy because the fighters are taking way too long to arrive on station. That makes sense. And look, he just got all of his drops off before the enemy carrier actually was able to get his fighters on station to protect him. See, this is the other thing, too, that I see a lot of carriers doing. People are just panic reacting with the fighters. Not only did the Ark Royal place the fighter reactively, she also misplaced it. But we're going to watch what happens here. Kilo's attacking this battleship. There it is. There it is. The fire. Everybody see that? Look, let's pause that. Kilo's got 15 seconds. He just panic dropped these fighters. All right, not only is it going to take 16 seconds for them to arrive on station, this enemy battleship is going to be long gone outside of that patrol radius before they even get on target. So when you're dropping these fighters, take a little bit more time. Take that extra second and a half that it would take to make sure you're laying these down in the correct position, because this battleship's driving away from where the carrier put his fighters down, and they're already behind it, and by the time they are on station, he's going to be long gone outside of that patrol radius. So this fighter is essentially going to do nothing. We're just going to watch Kilo continue to strike this target over and over again because they're in the wrong place. The Ryoji put them down in a spot where he just panicked and hit the button. They arrived on station, but the battleship's already outside of the patrol radius. You can see it down here on the mini-map. Kilo can still continue to farm this guy for free because the carrier player didn't understand that there's a response time, and he put it down just in the wrong position altogether. So the intent was good. Unfortunately, the execution of those patrol fighters were just really late and really behind the ship, and Kilo's just continue to strike that guy over and over again. All right, let's go on to the next demonstration here. We're at the 4.5 minute mark. Ark Royal places fighters in the face of my squadron, but her squadron is far away that I just fly out of the patrol radius. And this is something that a lot of people need to understand now too. Patrol fighters no longer work in the same way that they did before, meaning it's very hard to offensively use your patrol fighters against the enemy carrier because there's a delay on how long it takes these fighters to arrive on station. We've all seen it, right? At the start of the game, under the old system prior to the new patch dropping, the two carriers would fly at each other for the first 2 minutes of the game and immediately attempt to drop fighters on top of the other squadron. All right, there was an offensive way of using your patrol fighters. You can't really get away with doing that anymore because of the delayed response time and how long it takes your patrol fighters to get there. So you're going to have to use these patrol fighters for what is originally their intended purpose. You're going to have to use them strategically to protect ships that are either, you know, on a rock, having a hard time defending themselves, or compensate for where you think your teammates are eventually going to go. You can no longer use these fighters in a role that'll strictly go after the other carrier planes. The only exception I could think of would be the Essex, because the response time with the Essex patrol fighters are pretty fast. But that's the only exception. Or we're going to watch this right here. We're going to watch what happens here, chat. Kilo drops his patrol fighter down way out in front of the Shinanomi, as he should. But look, the carrier dropped the fighters directly in front of Kilo, and Kilo's long gone before they even get a chance to be on station. Does that make any kind of sense? All right, something to keep note of there. It's get out of the habit of trying to use your fighter planes as strictly an offensive role to attack the other enemy carrier's planes. Does that make any sense? Think of them more of a defensive role and no longer an offensive. Okay. Now we're going to go into the next clip here. He says, I see the Ark Royal bombers approaching my FR-25. So I dropped fighters to ensure the Ark Royal would pay the price for striking the FR-25. Let's get our bearings here on the mini-map, right? Let's look at where Kilo's squadrons are. Here's the FR-25 that Kilo's referring to. Let's go ahead and play the video. Yep, see him drop. Kilo gave the FR-25 plenty of lead. Let's pause it right here. He gave the FR-25 plenty of lead. They are already arrived on station. We can tell because of the green bubble. Now, this FR-25 was not full speed, right? So if this carrier wants to continue his attack run on the FR-25, he's going to lose 5 planes doing it. Let's watch. Let's watch what happens here. Pay attention to the mini-map. Carrier planes are coming in. He's still hell-bent on going after this FR-25. He's going to fly right into this patrol bubble. And look at the planes. They're going to react pretty fast. They're already latched. How many planes is Kilo going to shoot down here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes. So that enemy carrier just lost 5 planes because Kilo laid that fighter down in a position in which the FR-25 wasn't going to skate the bubble. They arrived on time, and he was able to use those patrol fighters in a manner which would best protect the FR-25. All right, let's continue on here. Go on to the next segment here. I placed a fighter over the long DD so she doesn't get spotted. The Leon DD so she doesn't get spotted. Okay, let's see what Kilo means by that. Kilo, do you want to explain that in chat? Do you remember this part? I placed a fighter over the Leon DD so she does not get spotted. So the Haida is the only DD on the team. Okay. Okay, I see what you're doing. You're dropping it. Look, all right, now that I see it, let's go back and talk about that. Kilo knows this is the start of the game, right? So Kilo's gonna drop a fighter preemptively way ahead of the Haida to prevent the Ark Royal from hard spotting the carrier. Kilo knows the Haida's going in this general direction, probably most likely towards A, right? He's gonna give his fighter times plenty of lead in front of the Haida, so that by the time the fighters arrive on station is going to be about the same time that the Haida is going to drive into the patrol radius, which completely denies the red carrier that area of potentially spotting the DD right off the start. So these are some of the things that you can do. Watch. Kilo drops it right perfectly there. And we're going to watch the mini map by the time. See? Because Kilo was so close to his drop points, the fighters dropped pretty much on station relatively quickly, and the Haida's got this entire patrol radius that he's relatively safe now because he just completely denied the other carrier's ability to hard spot the Haida drive to the cap. So that was a good move by Kilo, dropping those fighters where he did and why he did it. See, now the Haida's got all the time in the world. We're looking at the mini map here. He can't really push into that bubble and actively spot our Haida. It's giving the Haida a leg up because he dropped that patrol fighter preemptively way ahead of the Haida so he can do his job effectively. That was a really good move. All right, let's go on to the next clip here. This is planes coming in from the south. I set up fighters according to stop the strike on me and the chaos. Let's see what Kilo does here. He's kind of using the fighters to protect himself here. Now he's going to drop the fighters. See where he dropped the fighters? The chaos is coming through. He again gave the fighters plenty of time. See, they just arrived on station. We're focusing on the mini map now to protect both the chaos and himself from the enemy planes that are going to be coming down here. Right now, this last known spotted position from the Ark Royal is 3 minutes old. So the Ark Royal most likely is over here. He's strategically positioning the fighters not directly over the top of the two ships, but in a manner in which if that Ark Royal wants to attack either the Chaos or Kilo, he's going to have to fly through that bubble to try to get a strike off. So even though Kilo didn't put the fighters directly over the head of either the Chaos or his own ship, he put it offset in a manner which maximizes the distance that the carrier would have to fly through that bubble to get the strike off on either him or the Chaos. So that carrier would lose, 5 or 6 planes or more trying to get a strike off on either the Chaos or Kilo. It was just the best way to maximize the distance in which the planes would have to fly through that fighter patrol bubble. It completely it protects the Chaos and Kilo at the same time here. See, that was a pretty smart move. Again, we're just looking at the mini map. We've seen the Ark Royal launch planes from over here. If he wants to try to get planes on the Chaos, bombs on the Chaos or Kilo, he's going to have to fly through that entire bubble to do it. And again, we're just focusing here more on the mini map than what's going on screen. And he's going to do it again. He's going to drop it over again in a position. See, the Ark Royal's already flying through there. Let's see how many planes he shoots down, chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes. The Ark Royal just lost 5 planes trying to go after the Chaos. Now, there's enough AA between both the Chaos and Kilo to pretty much kill off that squadron before he even gets a drop off. So based on the mini map and the last known of the carrier, he is able to position the fighter in between both himself and a friendly ship, even though it wasn't directly over the top of it. So that's a lesson that we can all use. Now, last clip of the evening, Bayard flies into my fighters. They tag on and shoot Bayard's planes down so that the fighter despawns. I want to place another fighter, but I am not sure which DD to cover, so I look at the mini-map. ACAT is pushing to A. ACAT has a lot more potential of being taken off the board from the Bayard spotting because of the positioning of Leone. The Scharnhorst 43 and the other ships are on the map, so we give it to them. Okay, so let's try to break this down here, chat. Kilo's got a choice here. He can either drop a fighter to protect the DD that's on the right or the ACAT that's coming up here on the left. You got a ship here, you got a ship here, you got a ship here. If this guy keeps pushing this cap, which he's most likely going to do, and if he gets spotted by the enemy Bayard, all right, not only is he dealing with a Bayard, which is an excellent DD hunter killer for a carrier, he now has to deal with getting shot at by 3 different ships. So you have 2 DDs in here, you only have 1 squadron. What would be the best 2 DDs that you would want to help protect, right? I would say the Akizuki to deny the Bayard from hard spotting this DD in front of 3 enemy ships. That dude would just get erased off of the map. So these are some of the things that we can do when we're dropping patrol fighters, is picking and choosing what would be the best teammate to protect based on what is on the minimap. And if you recognize the pattern here, chat, how many times have I said during this demonstration, we're going to focus on the minimap. Look at the minimap. Look at the minimap, right? That's how important this is. Most of your choices in almost any ship class, for that matter, is going to be based off of what you see on the minimap. So always pay attention to the minimap. Let's see what choice Kilo makes here. I have a feeling that he's going to want to put a patrol fire over the top of the Akizuki to protect him against the potential fire from 3 different ships. Let's see what happens here. Kilo's got his planes up in the air, flying along. He actually got a couple plane kills from the last potential fighter over here. Yep, that's what I thought. Kilo's going to drop fighters over the top of the Akizuki because he doesn't want him to get spotted by their carrier in front of 3 ships so he just doesn't get deleted. Because that's exactly what would happen. If you get spotted in an Akazuki, there it is. The patrol fighters arrive on station right there, and that's it. This DD no longer has to worry about being hard spotted by the Bayard in front of 3 enemy ships. So this is some of the heads up plays that you can use. So these are some of the things that you can do to set yourself up for success with these new patrol fighter mechanics. All right, pay attention to the mini map, try and anticipate the lead on your ships because there's a cooldown time and how long they arrive on station. And try to remember these lessons here when you're playing your CVs and employing patrol fighters for your teammates. I hope this helps everybody. Again, for those of you new to my channel, my name's Thereback47. Usually stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on Twitch. Once a week, we release these little how-to videos. If you like this kind of content or you think I missed something, like always, put it in the comment section below. And again, I thank everybody for watching, and I hope this was a good experience for everybody. All right, see you on the next one, chat.